What up, reader fam? It's springtime, which means spring cleaning time, aka time to unhaul some books. I've said quite a few times in recent videos that I would never do an unhaul video again, but clearly I changed my mind. I think a big reason why I feel okay filming one today and posting it for you guys is because I've read all the books that I'm going to be mentioning in today's video, and I have reasons for getting rid of them, that basically being that I just don't like these books and I just don't need them to clutter my collection. If you watched my bookshelf tour, then you know that I have a shelf of books that I don't like, that I just kind of keep together, and that's pretty much what my unhaul is going to consist of today. I'm saying bye-bye to those books because they're just taking up space. It's so interesting doing a book unhaul because it's like a backwards haul, where in haul videos you're like super excited for all these books, and in unhaul videos you're just like, yeah, I hated this book, so I'm getting rid of it. And I'm not here to be salty or shady today in talking about these books. I just genuinely didn't like these books, and that's okay. You can't like every book that you read, and if something doesn't bring you joy anymore, then just throw it out the door. Then slam that door and lock that door and keep that thing away. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be getting rid of some books that I'm just not interested in keeping anymore because I've read them and I didn't like them. Also, I'm unable to give these books away. I'm just going to be donating them. That was a long-winded intro. Without further ado, let's unhaul some books. First book I have here is Frost by Mariana Bear. I've kind of been holding on to this book because it was given to me by a friend, and I ended up reading it and I didn't like it. It's kind of a thriller book and I was really underwhelmed by the big twist at the end. I wanted something that would leave me shaking in my boots, but instead it just kind of left me feeling like, okay. It's so hard getting rid of books that you've received from friends, but I know that I will never reread this book, and it's just taking up space on my shelf. Next, I have Pathfinder by Orson Scott Card. I was low-key holding on to this book because of the fact that it was like one of the first books that I was ever sent for review, so it's kind of got a little bit of sentimental value. I've just held on to it because it brings back memories of starting out my channel, but since reading this book, I learned things about this author that I do not agree with, which if you're curious about that, then hit up Google. I am not here to talk about this author today. I do think it's possible to separate the art from the artist, but I just genuinely don't feel comfortable supporting this author anymore. Next, we have the first two books in the Shannara Chronicles series by Terry Brooks. I read both of these books and I just really did not like them. I read them because I wanted to read them before watching the television show, which I ended up liking the television show more than I liked the books. I personally felt like these books lacked a balance with everything within the story, from the characters to the plot to the writing itself. There was just like a lack of balance, and I don't really know how to describe that. Like in these books, we have every element of a story. We have characters, we have plot, we have world building, etc., etc. But I felt like there was no balance with all of those things, and so it made it hard for me to stay invested in the story. Next book I'm getting rid of is Exit Here by Jason Myers. I didn't remember much about this book, but then I went back and watched my review, which is now privated because it was a terrible review on this book. Like, I used to be so mean in my reviews. Like, I was not a respectful reviewer at all. I wish that I could go back in time and tell Jesse the reader that he needs to be respectful, and I feel so bad. Like, if the author watched that video, I feel bad and I sincerely apologize if you're watching this, which I don't think you're going to be watching this video. Just to give you an idea, I'll give you a little direct quote from that review video. At one point I said this book was worthless. I also said to not waste your money on this book because it was terrible. And the third thing I said was, I do not understand how anyone could like this book, which is something that I would never ever say today. That is something that will make me unsubscribe from somebody if they'll say in their reviews like, I just don't understand how anybody could like this book. Because we're all different people, we all enjoy different things, and that's okay. So, young Jesse the reader was not a very good reviewer. I hopefully have gotten better at reviewing. I don't know, I still feel like an amateur, but anyways, obviously I didn't like this book, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Next I have House of Ivy and Sorrow by Natalie Whipple. This is a book where I was really drawn in by this beautiful book cover. It had a really cool summary. It follows this witch and her mother had passed away due to a curse, and the curse had returned, so her and her friends like had to figure out a way to protect themselves, but I was just really underwhelmed by the story and didn't end up enjoying it. These next two are by different authors, but I'm just gonna show them together because they're both books written in verse. First up I have Kiss of Broken Glass, and then I have Poisoned Apples. I either end up loving books written in verse or I end up just not liking them at all, and there's really no in between for me. A lot of times I leave books written in verse just wanting more from the story itself. Like, I love the writing style, but I just want more from the plot, more from the characters, and I think this can be a difficult format to deliver a good story with, but it has been done. Just wasn't a fan of these, and I'm gonna say goodbye to them. Bye, bye, bye. Next I have Zack and Mia by AJ Betts. I think I have a review up for this book. book, and I did really enjoy it. But then when I let the story set for a while, I realized that my opinions started to change. You know when you read a book and you're just kind of on a high from finishing a book, but then everything just sinks in and you're like, oh, did I really enjoy that book, or was I just like high on the fact that I finished a book? That was the case with this book. Next I have Slide, which I think I've been hanging onto this book for the longest time just because it has a beautiful cover, but this is another thriller story that I was really underwhelmed by. And this actually has a really cool concept. We follow this girl who like slides into different people's bodies, and she doesn't even really mean to. She just has these like episodes where she just finds herself like falling out of herself, and then she wakes up in somebody's body, and she can't really do anything. She's just in that person's body observing what they're doing, and so she ends up in the body of a killer, which is a really awesome concept, but I just didn't love the outcome. Next I have Schizo by Nick Sheff. This is not a bad book. It was okay, but that's why I'm getting rid of it, because it was just okay. It didn't like blow me away or anything. Next I have In the Shadows by Kirsten White and Jim D. Bartolo. I've been considering keeping this one because I love the artwork in it. It's so beautiful. Like, Jim D. Bartolo is so talented. He is a fantastic artist, but I can't keep it because I didn't like the story. It was so confusing. It was so hard to follow. I remember being so frustrated reading this book because I was like, I want to understand everything that's happening, but I am so confused. And I don't think it was like that confusing of a story. I just think I struggled with it. It was me. It's me, not you. I promise, it's me. Next I have Mosquito Land by David Arnold. This is an author that I really want to give another chance. This was his debut book, and I honestly just found the main character to be terribly annoying, which I hated that I felt that way while reading it, but that's just how I felt. And it's not that the writing style was bad or anything, but I was just so annoyed with the main character. So that does not make this a bad book. It just wasn't a book for me, and that's okay. Next I have here Half Bad, which I am sad to see this beautiful book cover go because I love this beautiful book cover. This is a series that I just know I will not be continuing on with. I really thought that I was going to continue on with it after I read Half Bad, but this is another case where I had read the book, finished it, and I was like, whoa, I finished a book! But then everything kind of sunk in like a couple weeks later, and I was like, oh, I didn't like that book as much as I thought I liked that book. Next I have the first two books in the Zombie series by Darren Shan. I've read the first one, I never read the second one, but I've realized that I'm just not really into the whole zombie trend. So I'm just gonna have to pass on the series because I'm just not interested in it anymore. Next, I'm getting rid of the Mind Games duology by Kirsten White. I feel like I've talked about this duology a lot on my channel and how I just didn't vibe with it. I personally was like, these two books should have been one book. There was no need for this to be a duology. And these books kind of have a dystopian vibe, and I feel like I read them as I was like kind of getting out of that dystopian stage where every young adult book was dystopian. I kind of blame that factor on me not enjoying these books. Thankfully, I've since read a book by Kirsten White and I really loved it, and that is Anti-Darken. Highly recommend checking that one out. Sometimes it's good to give an author a second chance, I'm just saying. And the last books I have here are the first two books in the Beautiful Creatures series. I read the first book, Beautiful Creatures, and I loved it. I stand behind that fact, though I feel like if I read it again today, I wouldn't end up loving it as much as I did back in the day when I read it. And then I got halfway through Beautiful Darkness and I just could not push myself to finish this book. It was just really slow in the middle and I just could not push myself to read it. And I was also just really annoyed with what was happening. I've decided that I'm just going to get rid of these books because I'm not going to read the rest of the series. So there's no reason for me to hold on to them. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder, even though the books are literally right here looking at me and I haven't actually gotten rid of them yet. I still feel good about the fact that I am getting rid of these books. I think it's good to sometimes take a step back, look at your book collection, see some books that you didn't like, and just get rid of them. You can use the space that they're taking up for books that you're going to love in the future. If I got rid of one of your favorite books, know that it's not an attack on you. I just didn't like it, and that's okay. It's okay if you like it. Just like it's okay if you hate one of my favorite books, that's a-okay. You guys should let me know down below in the comments if you're a person who likes to keep all of your books. I'm personally someone who's kind of having a hard time saying goodbye to these books just because I've read them and I kind of look at them as trophies on my bookcase. Like, I've read that one and that one and that one, but I also didn't like that one, didn't like that one, didn't like that one, so I think it's time for me to say goodbye to these books. But also let me know down below if you're the kind of person who likes to get rid of books every now and then, and what that process is like for you. Like, are they books that you've read and didn't like, or are they books that you just haven't read and you know that you'll never end up reading? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I post videos frequently on this channel, so if you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe, or go and click the little bell icon down below and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, chew.